Let's move into the bull run, talk about some of the altcoins that you should be on the watch for, and also how this ecosystem has been affected by what's been happening, obviously, with the XRP case. We'll get into Ripple case. We'll get into all that for you, break down some tokens for you. I think you're going to like it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. We'll jump right into it today, and I want to jump over to the SEC tokens that were on the list as securities, which maybe all of this starts to change up now with yesterday's ruling from Judge Torres. If you're new to the channel and you don't know what we're talking about here, step back, go watch some of our XRP videos, understand a little bit about what's happening in the Ripple case, and maybe if you're new to crypto, now you can start looking at some of these things called altcoins. And this is a good list right here. As you look at the list of tokens that were actually put in this list, you've got Sol, ADA. You guys kind of know the list here. Some of the ones that we'll be breaking down today, we'll take a look at Solana, also take a look at Sandbox, take a look at Flow. You're going to like that one. A handful of others that I think you guys will look at. All right, so let's start off with clip one. This is Jim Cramer and his lovely predictions.
Put up XRP and Solana and Dogecoin. Those are all, I believe, cons.
Why do you think it's been so resilient here in the high 16s?
Well, I'll tell you what Stark says, because it's phony and a scam. Because unlike the banks, these crypto assets all seem to be scams, and I want you out of them. Many of you traffic in them every day. You should. You're wrong. I mean, go look at those joke coins that are being traded right now. You know, we're talking about Solana, talking about MATIC, Cardano, whether it be Ethereum, whether it be Solana, anything crypto, I think. Sell. Help me here. I can't stop. Bitcoin went up today. I will say point blank, I think it's being manipulated up. It was being manipulated the whole time by Sam Bankman-Fried. And I would sell my Bitcoin right into this rally. And believe me, I had been a believer one time in Bitcoin. Not here, not now. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, Solana, Litecoin, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them.
Well, Cramer has had that position and also an opposite position, so he flip-flops a lot. I want to go to this next clip. I think you guys will maybe change his mind.
More and more global investors are asking us about the role of crypto. And as I said, I do believe a lot of crypto is going to be, it's an international asset. It has a differentiating value versus other asset classes, but more importantly, because it's so international, it's going to transcend any one currency and currency valuation. And that's why we believe there's great opportunities, and that's why we're seeing more and more interest. And that interest is broad-based worldwide.
All right, so as you can see, this is interesting because you've got mainstream media that has all been circling around crypto. For when the narrative is convenient to go against it, they go against it. When the narrative is convenient to go for it, all of a sudden it's for it. So I think for many people who's been maybe watching our channel for quite some time, we understand where the game is played. And I think we understand where this is heading and how it's going to get there. As we've covered on XRP many times, if you go over our channel, you'll be able to kind of learn a little bit more about that. One of the things was this interview right here that we did with the XRP team on their ledger, some other aspects of maybe the future of where Ripple is going to be taking a lot of these strategies and a lot of this technology kind of into this next layer. So definitely a lot happening. If you look at where XRP has been, because that is one of the tokens we do hold, look at the 3-year history right here. This is only the second time that is actually flipped BNB token, which is one of the largest exchanges out there. And it's the token out there that it has now flipped XRP flipping BNB. So again, more faith, I think, in a lot of these projects. Remember what XRP does what Ripple does as a company, but what XRP supports as a token as part of your future here. Is XRP going to flip Bitcoin? That'll be a big question mark. How many of you guys think that'll ever happen? Now, remember, XRP at one time was the number 2 token above Ethereum in its heyday before the SEC case. Will it make its way back to the top? We'll get a chance to see that, I think, in a front-run opportunity. I want to jump over to our next clip real quick and take a look at this one. Listen in. If this rolls out and the judge does award Ripple a win on this, do you think this has any effect?
I actually don't know what you're talking about. A win on what? I haven't followed
Oh,
Ripple
okay.
in years. It's just so obviously
All
a scam. There's nothing special about this. It's just more scams and schemes.
Yeah.
And even if you think they're just the same as stocks for companies, they all pass the Howey test, including Ethereum, and Ripple, obviously, and Cardano. Any of these things. Only Bitcoin is not a security.
All right, so that was Corey Klippstein of Swan Bitcoin. Of course, he's been on our show a couple of times. This does, sometimes you have to look at this and say, all right, if facts change, which yesterday they did, facts begin to change, you have to reassess how these things are affecting overall markets. And it does look like we're going to see an open marketplace in the aftermarket aspect of what digital assets are, because they're not securities, to be able to trade on those. So I think it is a scenario that we're going to be looking at for quite some time. Ethereum, of course, will be the front runner that helps make this possible. One thing to note on Ethereum is the Cancun upgrade coming up. A couple of points I want to showcase right here, because this will highlight some tokens. They have this new area called dank sharding, which is focuses on increasing data availability for the roll-up. I know this might sound a little bit sweaty nerd to you, but point is it makes the chain run more efficiently. It's going to make projects to be able to launch. Think of it like the internet. Internet gets faster, more efficient. Web browsers get fast. Same kind of thing with what's happening in blockchain. Rollups are a layer 2 technology that bundles together blockchain transactions, processes them off-chain, and then converts them. Remember, that's how a lot of merchant processors do that to keep speed up on TVL, total processes that happen even within credit cards transactions. So this is not something that's new to the industry of business. It's new to blockchain. So that is a good thing. Some of the chains and some of the projects that will take advantage of this are things like Optimism, Arbitrum, ZK Sync, and then even Loopring, which we've talked about many of these on the show before. One note is that we just added Optimism to our CPI. So again, we're watching these, whether you like Ethereum. This is one of the biggest tokens we hold. It's one of the reasons that we're so into what this ecosystem can be doing, especially around just the innovation of where this is going. Another aspect of this is looking at where Solana is going. Solana continues to be, I think, a performer here. And if you look at just the total value lock, this is, again, the most total value lock since December. Pretty impressive, because now we're looking at a very interesting time with not only the XRP statement, but the potential of, does Solana get relisted back on places like Robinhood and other places? So that could also bring in MATIC or Paul, its new token. And at some point, we'll start to see a lot of this start to transition to other projects like Cardano and so on. So it's a good sign right now for a lot of these altcoins. The question is this a short-term or long-term on a bull run strategy, and kind of how you guys are playing this? And we'll talk about the charts here in a little bit and kind of go through some of those. All right, so another one I want to hit on is Uniswap. Leading DEX, over 3.7 billion in total value locked, also announced its expansion on Avalanche. So that's another big one. We like Uniswap. We've tracked that one also on the CPI, and obviously we are a big proponent of what Avalanche is doing. I still believe that Avalanche is going to be a key one because of its the transition process from Web 2 to Web 3. It will be one of the technologies that kind of helps make that happen. Another one I hit on is, of course, the AI subnet. We talked about this before. You'll notice right here on Avalanche, the growth just in total addresses. You can see all the subnets moving in. There was the Meld subnet, Shrapnel if you're into gaming, and you get a chance to see all of this growth that continues to climb right now, over 5 million addresses on all subnets. So again, big moves for Avalanche. One of the tokens that we hold in our portfolio, it is one that we're looking at long term. Another one, let's take a look, of course, at Arweave. Now remember, there's a couple of things that are going to happen in Web3. Data is a big part of this, and Arweave will be one of the projects that will benefit from that. And if you look at just the logos down here, obviously Meta was tied into this. The idea was Instagram at one point. Question will be, does Threads and Meta and Instagram all start to kind of connect the dots again, maybe with something else in the future of how Zuckerberg may take this to the next level? So a lot happening there with Arweave. And again, it's another one that we're interested in. Flow to the future, if this was the other one, of course, the problem with Arweave is that you can't really get to it very easily. Flow is traded on Coinbase, and it's very easy to access. So I think this is one of the reasons that we've seen considerable growth and just awareness around the Flow token and some of the projects that it supports. So that's another one, again, that we own, one that we've invested in, one that we track on the CPI as well. So big stuff happening, of course, with Flow. So here was kind of interesting. This was just a poll on whether or not they should rename, for the renaming of the MATIC token to Pol or Paul. I like the Paul one personally, but we'll see. It's going to be a good thing, I think, with the way that the transaction is going to happen, where you'll be able to do a swap on your MATIC token to get to Pol or Paul. We'll see which one they actually end up with going forward. Another strategy that is going to impact, I think, the future of Web3 is around what's happening on Unstoppable. And we talked about this a little bit the other day on our Lens, well, I won't call it the Lens protocol video, but if you watched a little bit about social and decentralized social media, Lens protocol gave we gave a kind of a good breakdown of what Lens protocol means to this. And part of this will be the same kind of framework being built in the side of marketplaces with what's happening where you've got Unstoppable. If you take a look at their marketplace right here, you can kind of see all of these are featured Web3 apps using AI. There's the Phantom Wallet and many others that we'll continue to see, Brave Browser, and then you go into the marketplace app, all there. So if you click utility, move into some of those, tooling. The one negative thing I will say, I'm gonna call it negative. I'm not sure how I, completely digest this just yet. This, of course, is Ryan Watt when he left Polygon. And bittersweet, but he was saying, you guys have seen us, and we've talked about Ryan many times. Remember, he was the guy that actually was on Capitol Hill testifying for Polygon, did a great job. But he's moving on. I'm interested in where he's going to be going. That'll be very critical. But also with how Polygon, as a company goes forward without, a talent like him. So I'm watching that. But again, Polygon has been doing fantastic. Another one that we're watching, of course, is Chainlink. Just as just a quick overview of what Chainlink does. Final problem, real world use, 80% of all smart contract use cases, we need external data inputs to trigger the contract. So did the package arrive? What's the cost of a barrel of oil? What was the rainfall at a location? All those kind of things have and need a framework of this authenticity, and that's where Chainlink can come in. So it's another one that we're watching. Link, if you're not checking that out. Remember, this was in reference to Swift. If you guys don't know what Swift is, go do a little research. This essentially is the messaging system that runs money worldwide. Swift has been and is one of the oldest ones out there. Their biggest competitor is a company called Ripple. So a lot happening in this space. And again, Link is tied to, Chainlink is tied to how Swift could be utilizing the messaging system for worldwide monetary transfer of cross-border assets. So that's another big reason why to take and consider Link. Render, is one of our big gainers this year. It's also one of the tokens that we continue to just show a lot of faith in, mainly because we see the future of where this is going in terms of Web3 and rendering creator assets that will start to really bleed into, I think, all aspects of creativity. So Render, of course, lots happening, up a little bit here on the day. So on the 24-hour gainers, Sandbox was, of course, also in there. Mana, Decentraland, obviously XRP and Optimism, all big gainers on this XRP news. Further into this, I want to go to projects by developer activity, some other ones that will, should be aware of. Obviously, Mana there, but that was one, I think, more historical. Flow, of course, number 2 right there. Then you have Sandbox, which is one of the tokens that we continue to look at and will most likely be re-entering in the bull run. And this is one we like. Engine, of course, right behind it. And even Illuvium down here on the end. Illuvium at one time was in our gaming token CPI. We removed it. Maybe it gets it back to it. We'll see. In terms of tracking where sentiment is and all that good stuff on our CPI. If you guys aren't checking out our CPI, make sure and do that as well. I always leave a link down below. We actually have a little bit of a discount going right now, so go to our member deals and you can check it out. Stacks is another one that we're looking at, building on Bitcoin. It's pretty much the only project that I think is building on ordinals. BRC20s are thriving, layer 2, scalability options, Bitcoin DeFi on L2s. Those are real opportunities about building on Bitcoin. Stacks will be, and as you guys, ordinals, we've talked about this. If you don't know about ordinals, go back to many of our, just search ordinals on our channel. You'll find a whole bunch of videos on what it is, how it works, and how Stacks is involved in it, all that good stuff. Again, this is kind of running through a full list of tokens and projects. So this was a guy that broke down, unaware of the psychology behind crypto cycles. Every cycle will have their own darling coins, for example, 2017, XRP, Dash, etc. Kind of dispelled because, and I'll talk about that in a second, but this was a report done by the ARC group, Kathy Wood. And you'll notice this was in the Big Ideas report early this year. One of the statements that was made in this report, I'll kind of scan over here. Consequently, new networks cannot claim they are sufficiently decentralized on a token holder basis and could be susceptible to pressure by insiders. When we look at how people, both token holders and how VCs have been playing in this game for really quite some time, there's been a lot of nefarious actions over there. So that I think is now gone because we've got a definitive decision here from Judge Torres that gives us the capability of where VC money is now, instead of going into tokens and then dumping on the markets, this is going to go back, I think, to where VCs will be able to invest in companies based on the normal parameters, and that is the fundamentals of a company, not how tokens do on the open market and then dumping on them. That's the difference. And that, I think, is a clarity of securities law, and it will be, it has been always that case. And I think those are the ones that you have to watch out for. There will probably be some wins by the SEC in that area, maybe even against some of the VCs. We'll see how that goes. Another thing we're watching heavily is the Web3 Funding report. This is Q2 2023. I'll just kind of scan through a few of these of how much money is moving into the projects. As you can see, still a lot of cash coming in. And again, as I said, this will be going into how the companies themselves, notice Lens Protocol, number 3 right there, 15 million. And then you can kind of see it, just companies, media, Blockworks took in $12 million. That's crazy for that. Kind of the categories of gaming, social networks, payment solutions, insurance, et cetera, data and funding. Again, Lens Protocol right there, RSS3 coming in on social networks, and then all of this right here on the gaming. And some of these tokens are going to end up making their way into an opportunity in this next bull run, just like anything else that you might invest in that you think might move, whether it's collectibles, watches, those kind of things. This is exactly what this ruling starts to define, is that those kinds of things are not in fact securities, which is what many people have been arguing for quite some time. Right here, you see this movement. This is second quarter 2023. 21 NFT projects raised $72 million. So again, these are NFT projects that are starting to move into this. And again, this will be just another opportunity of companies and creativity moving around the creator space into this area, which again will open up some opportunities for people to basically build real companies, whether it's companies like Cryptoys or others like that. You see McFarlane jumping into this. The other thing that is a big news is the enabling of new blockchain-based experiences on Google Play. This starts to separate the game because if Android and Google do pull the opportunity to allow NFTs and other creators to games, et cetera, to go into this ecosystem and be able to thrive in a blockchain world, this changes things pretty interestingly, because if we see adoption curves start to take place, at some point, this may actually push Apple into the game without the Apple tax, the 30% rate that you pay on almost everything, which a lot of people have started to sidestep now, everything from sideloading to sidestepping to web to try to get around those things as opposed to the app ecosystem. And of course, this is another one. Now you can buy the Flash as an NFT just weeks after hitting the theater. This is mainstream. Now, Hollywood is also in this, and this, I think, also blockchain fixes this. Remember, Hollywood's angry creators now are showing why Web3 is needed. This is a problem of the writers, possibility of use of AI. Remember, the actors, the SAG actors now also worried about the use of their likeness. This would start to get verification and authenticity on true IP, intellectual property. All right, just to take a look quickly at some of the charts here. Bitcoin, of course, slightly down, adjusted back down to right at 30,500 after its spike yesterday on not only the XRP news, but also the ETF news from what happened in Europe. If you look at Bitcoin dominance, also starting to level out right here and coming back up to right at 50% after it had kind of somewhat stabilized at around 51.4. And then Avalanche, one of the big winners, also another one of the tokens we've continued to watch. This is still on the 1 hour. ADA, of course, had that big move up and some fall off right here. I think a lot of people are now taking a little bit of those profits. But the key here is, will this be the next step into our next framework of growth around a lot of these? MATIC, of course, still trading right there after it readjusted. Some of the other ones, even near protocol, which has continued to show up. Not bad overall. I think the key here will be, how do these look over the next 30 to 60 days? A lot of these. We'll continue to track a lot of this for you guys in terms of tokens and things we're looking, and the fundamentals really that are behind it. And then the sentiment that comes and supports those fundamentals, which eventually drives price action, much like any other social behavior, whether you're trading in watches or Beanie Babies. Those things are driven off of what you and I think they're worth. And that's the difference in the markets today. All right. If you guys are not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's really easy. It's free. All you have to do is click a link down below. If you want to catch me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.